Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. I've actually started prepping some workshop kits for an upcoming workshop that's happening in February, and I'm using the Sweet as Honey collection, which you can see on the front of the cover. I'll just do a little quick flip through. I know that I've showed this before, but I think this is one of my all-time favorite collections. I love all the color tones and the print and the textures that are on these papers are really, really lovely. But in today's video, I've actually pared things back a little bit, and I'm just featuring these patterns in small increments on an essentially black and white page with some other color tones with mink and shortbread, which coordinate with this collection. I've designed all of this in Design Space on my Cricut, and pretty much everything is cut on the Cricut except for one little element that I'm going to introduce, this ticket item here. And I'm also going to do some stamping around the edges of these place cards on the mink and the shortbread ones. You can see here I've already gone ahead and put the piece of paper behind a couple of these, and there's a couple of tricks that I want to show you along the way with doing this. I love this printed paper, but when I put it behind this shortbread piece, it got a little bit lost. So I'm just taking my journaling pen and using the guide of the cutout piece, I'm going around very slowly and carefully just to bring that camera element into focus a little bit more, pardon the pun, but that makes it stand out. And then these are cut to about a 4-inch width, so a trimmed 4x4 photo will fit on the back side of them. And the other thing that you'll notice is I've got some black cards as well, and I've got a right side page to this, which I will bring in later, and I'm going to dress this one up a little bit. I love how the letters look behind here. And for my base page, I've got a piece of black cardstock that I've cut the middle out of because I'm going to put this white daisy piece that I've cut out at 11.5 by 11.5 inches. And with the Cricut machine, I've used the pen writing function to put a frame around it. So now that that's attached, I'm just going to play with the placement of these. I've got some strips that have also been cut out on the Cricut, and they're going to go across this section at the top in the center. And then I'm going to bring that sort of element in across the bottom section here as well. And you might have noticed around the edges of these, I've actually inked these up with mink ink. I'm going to have a strip that goes across from the right edge and the left edge as well. And then I've got a little black heart that I'm going to put in the middle of the O. And I'm going to use these other little strips a little bit like washi tape and put those across the sections of the cards to make it look like that they're holding those in place. So I'm going to show you now how I did the inking around the edges of the card. I've brought in the little script section. These are actually letters that if you hold it this way you can see that they're actually letters, but they make a cool little border around the edges of things. So I'm just going to bring in tone on tone stamping and go quickly around the edges of this, and you can see that it's just picking up the areas of the inking here and making it look almost like a little stitched border when in fact it's letters. When I get down near the corners, I just turn it a little bit and angle my stamp to sort of replicate the rounded corner. It's not really going to matter that it's not particularly rounded. And I'm not taking an enormous amount of care to get everything perfectly lined up. It really is a little bit up to you how you do things. I wanted this to have a bit of a textured look to it. And I've gone a little bit onto the photo holder there, but that's okay because I will be removing those. So I'm hoping the camera's picking up. That's the shortbread inking around there, and this is the mink around on top of the mink one. And then I'm going to get my sponge dauber and quickly go around the edges of this photo holder. I've done that inking around the edges of all these little strips as well. Now obviously I haven't got my photo in here yet, so I've just adhered this with our dot roller at the bottom of the section here so that I can just lift this up and put it down. I'm just going lightly with the adhesives, and then I'm going to put this down and not press too hard so that I can lift it up and put my photos on later. And I think I'll swap this one around and have this one in the center so that the arrows are pointing towards that camera. I have a little bit more stamping to do that I want to show you for the tickets, but I'm just going to set that aside while I place everything here. For this Oh Happy Day, I'm going to actually pop this section up on foam tape. So rather than what I've done with all these other ones, adhering it flat to the back of my little card, I'm going to adhere this straight to the page. So I'm just lining up roughly where I want it to go, and then put that straight onto the page. And then I have a whole heap of foam squares left over from doing some slimline cards. So I'm going to put those on here, and that will raise that just a little bit. I'm leaving this bit at the top here clear because I've got something that I want to tuck into that area. So I'll go ahead and put that down. And I think what I'm going to do for these is just tear them a little bit like washi tape, like I've done with these other sections here, and put these on. And rather than putting the glue onto the heart, I'm putting the glue onto the paper, and I find that much easier to place that. I'm really liking how that is looking. And then I'm going to work with these other little pieces and attach some more washi tape type strips. I want to go ahead and bring in this ticket element to my layout. So I'm going to do some tone on tone stamping with this, but I don't want to get a totally solid image for what I'm putting on the inside. So the first step that I'm going to do is ink this up. And the tone on tone picks up beautifully on this, and I'm also going to do it for mink as well. So when I'm doing things like this, I get a little bit of a production line happening because I know that I want to repeat this element on my page. And then I'm going to use this word stamp here, but instead of putting it on a block, I'm just going to do some partial stamping with it. You might have seen me do this. I've started doing some art journaling pages, and instead of putting these on a block and getting a solid outline with them, or solid image, I'm just doing some partial inking up of the areas just to add a little bit of texture and interest to these. And then I'm going to do the same with the shortbread one here. I didn't want them all to be totally uniform, and you can do this with a lot of background type stamps or other type stamps that you might have, and just create a little bit of visual interest without using the whole entire area. And this image comes with a thin cut. You can see that because it has the colour around it, and it will give that ticket shape, which is what I'm looking for these scrapbook layouts. So I'm hoping this is picking up on camera. You can use these as little accents across your page. You can use them as journaling spots as well. If you use a black journal pen, it will show up over top of this stamping because it is quite light. So it all depends what sort of ink you use. But because I've used mink and shortbread, I will be able to put some words on there if I wanted to. But for this page, I'm just going to do some tucking of these to get them exactly where I want them to go. And you can see that I'm putting them where the washi tape is as well, or these little strips that I've done to sort of replicate washi tape. Before I put the other ticket there, I want to do some ink splatters with my shimmer brush. So I'm just going to move this aside, and I've covered that up just with a bit of scrap copy paper, and I'm going to use my black shimmer brush. I'm not going to squeeze it or pull it at all. I just want some gentle little flecks on this. I just want them to be around these areas where I've got the strips, just to tie them all in. And now I can tuck in the rest of my tickets because I didn't want the splatters to go over the top of that. I've brought in some black dots from the Black and White Dots, and I love how this all flows just across the page. I have put some grey journaling lines here ready for my journaling. I think the text is absolutely fabulous in these. I love the newsprint look to these, and I really wanted to do a black and white style page to really bring out the typography in these papers. I hope you've enjoyed watching me put this layout together. It's quite simple to do once I've planned everything out in Design Space. So I'll put a link to all the supplies that I have used today below in the description. And I have a couple more layouts that are coming up that I've got in the works and are ready to put together. So I'll be doing videos for those over the next few days. I'll put some still shots up of these layouts with some close-ups so you can see the texture and the dimension that I have created, especially on this card here. Thank you so much for watching. Happy crafting, and bye for now.